Yes, I
If you
will.
would like, we'll let you do first, and that way you won't need to go.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm Ray Dunn with Guardian Security. This is Steve Seekers. We put in your camera system a while back, several years ago, and we've given Jeannie some proposals to do some upgrades for you. Also, she's reached out to us to give you a proposal to secure your entrances so that if you need to, you can move it down to just one entrance. So she has those proposals. I appreciate the fact that you're going to invite me to come back for the next commissioner's report where I'll officially present that proposal to you. Just a little history on our company. We have done more work in historical courthouses than, as far as I know, any other company. And I know the people at the Historical Commission, when we do work in a historical courthouse or a school or any other job that we do, the courthouse or jail, we do our best to make sure that it's done the same way that we would do work in a historical building. So I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks and present our quotes at that time. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak this morning?
You know, I grew up here in this county, and I love this county, I love this town, love the people of this county, and I've always been proud to live in this county. I'm not proud of a lot of actions that I've seen taking place in this court here recently. We said that Pledge of Allegiance just a while ago, and it said that I don't recall it saying justice for a few, or liberty for a few, or justice for the chosen, or liberty for the chosen. I think it said justice for all. I don't think we're meeting that with this budget process at all. The whole thing is backwards. I mean, I've watched the commissioners' court meetings when I've not been able to be here because it's been through the middle of the day. And I'm blessed to own a company where I can show up if I need to. But for the simple fact that the hypocrisy of a few, I think that's a key word for me watching this budget process. For a commissioner to say that they would not support any pay increase whatsoever. And yet, I understand that on the worksheets that you're looking at, it's not a new proposed budget. There's almost a $30,000 increase for the auditor's office. How do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile a $3,000 raise for one road and bridge employee just a month or two before the budget process started through a line item budget transfer that nobody knew or understood what happened? I'm really, really disappointed. I always thought a lot of each of you. And Mr. Bonner, I'm incredibly disappointed in you. You know, I was thinking back to that popular movie Tombstone. Doc Holliday says, his hypocrisy knows no bounds. I guess your hypocrisy knows no bounds. If you really wanted to make this happen for our sheriff's deputies and for an election administrator, you can make it happen. You were able to come up with $30,000 for one office. I don't see how you can't come up with little money for our deputies to put their life on the line every day. If we're going to pay another office, another position in this office $33,000, which is only $1,500 short of what a deputy makes, why can't we look at giving them a raise? This is totally unacceptable. I know I'm a nobody and I can't do anything about it because I'm not elected by this or elected official in this court. But y'all can do something about it. And I'd like for y'all to restore some faith. That's all I've got to say.
here at every hearing, of course, I've heard several elected officials talk about the raises for their employees. I'm here to support that. I'm here to support the sheriff. Elected officials have important jobs. Their employees are important. I think we should put them first. I think as commissioners, we don't do that. Mr. Daniels, I want to thank you for supporting the 2 employees that wanted to raise here a couple of weeks ago. I want to thank the grievance committee that voted for that. I am disappointed in the commissioners that 7 out of 9 grievance committee members voted for it. And there was nothing out of that. Get back to it. I think before the budget process even starts, we want to think about our employees. Think what y'all do. Y'all get these pieces of paper. Y'all allot this money to different organizations. And I know it's a hard process. But then, if we have any money left over, we might give it to employees. Some of these elected officials, including you, have done that raises. My employees got small raises. But put the employees first. Think about them. I'm not going to say some of you that's making $66,000, $67,000 a year with your travel allowance that's sitting here at this table, you might not need a raise. But there's people in this county that are full-time employees that make $25,200. By county pay scale, that's $969 every 2 weeks. They got to take Social Security out of there. They got to take Medicare out of there. That's 7.65 total. They got to take 7% from retirement that's required. That leaves them with a little over $800 minus their income tax. They don't get $14,000 a year to drive up here to their work. They pay for their own gas. So that $827 minus the income tax, that's all they get. That's what I'm concerned about, these employees that really need it. And yet, we overlook them every year, basically every year. You have gave them a raise. That needs to be addressed. There's not that many employees that make that. So I think you need to look at that. Put your employees first. Then if you got money, and I support the fire departments, ambulances, people that want raises, I support all that. Support your employees. Do you actually know as commissioners how much a 2% raise would cost the county? I don't even probably think you probably couldn't give me an answer. But based on $4,250,000, 3 different budgets, or 3 different numbers in the budgets, I sort of took the middle number. You could give every employee a 2% raise, every employee, elected officials and everything, and it would come to about $100,000. That's including paying their Social Security out of that. That includes paying 10.5% retirement out of that, and $100,000. The way I look on this budget, we've got about $13.5 million. We make $200,000 a year, over $200,000 a year off interest on our CDs and our checking account. Not counting tax pool interest, interest from county clerks, interest from district clerks, over $200,000 just on them 2 accounts, the checking account and the CDs. Can't we take 50% of that money and give it back to our employees, and you would still have $9.5 million plus some? I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. But if we don't put our employees first, we're going to have problems just like this, that we give some raises, we give some not raises, we restructure the pay scale and fit a few, things like that, and I'm for that. But yeah, we need to look, like I say, these employees that are struggling. Some of them don't have farms, ranches, well interest, all this kind of stuff. They live off what you give them. And $25,000, that's $12.11 an hour if you base it on 80 hours on the pay period. And Mr. Oaks actually told me this back on March 3rd. He was telling me how the election worker down there in Doman, Texas, he don't get paid very much for doing his job. He gets paid $12 an hour. $12 an hour what he gets paid. But yet, we sit here and pay our workers $12.11. If he made that statement about that election worker down there, he needs to make that statement about county employees. Thank you.
Good morning, y'all. Judge Grant and Commissioners. I've come today to talk to you issues about the budget. And one thing I would like to make a suggestion. In light of the economic damage that Freestone County has suffered because of the Chinese virus pandemic, I feel it unwise to add to our residents' misery by raising property taxes. Businesses have shuttered, or at the very least have been severely curtailed. People have lost their jobs, mortgages, and rents can't be paid, utilities go unpaid, and it goes on and on and on. The specter of higher property taxes will only add to that stress and worry. Therefore, I'm asking that you consider and adopt the no new revenue tax rate option for the Freestone County budget for 2021.
Would you mind stepping up just a little bit? And that last sentence that you made.
I would like to see that you consider and adopt the no new revenue tax rate option for the budget for 2021. In theory, I guess that after all the math is done, you don't get new tax revenue, but you have the same tax revenue that you had last year. Okay? The second item I'd like to discuss is county support for our first responders. And by that I mean our ambulance services, our sheriff's department, and others. And in my opinion, there should be very little debate whether we support them or not. I attended the August 5th court meeting and heard the request for more ambulance service support and feel like that the request fell on deaf ears. Maybe those impressions were unfounded, but that's how I felt. In fairness, you have supported them in the past, and I feel that more needs to be done. I understand the ambulance service started out as an idea whose time had come, and has grown into the professional service that we have now. And I also feel that the time has come to take a serious look at and support their requests for upgrades and new equipment they need. And as you know, the ambulance service plays a vital role in the safety and well-being of our county. Without them and the equipment they need, they cannot perform this vital service. Just imagine calling 911 for yourself, your family, your friends, or even for someone you don't know, and being told you can't dispatch because your equipment doesn't work. Or they have shortages, or they have failures. And even a worse scenario, not beyond reality, is if the patient died because of equipment failure. Equipment that was in fact requested but not funded. Please don't hesitate to support them. Last but not least, a few weeks ago, you voted against elected official raises. It was done without any debate or discussion on your part, even after several people stood up and asked and talked about that they need to have their wages raised. Yesterday, as Tony pointed out, you approved a position to go to full-time for just over $26,000 more than what was being paid. I think it's a total of 30. Is that correct? And at the same time, you didn't approve anything for Precinct 1 or Precinct 3, for the Justice of the Peace. And you didn't approve anything for the Sheriff's Department. And I have to wonder why these positions are singled out. You have budgets that allow you to give your employees raises while others get none. How is that fair? How is that fair to anyone? My understanding is raises are not regular occurrence for some elected positions because they are elected to one precinct, specifically the Justice of the Peace position. By that logic, the commissioner's salary should be determined in the same way. After all, you're elected to one precinct, and that's the only area you represent and work for. On the other hand, these other positions work across the county and cities within the county. They're expected to be on call 24/7, go to accident scenes, issue warrants, provide support for people who might harm themselves, and on and on. Unelected positions are in the same format. Not only do they perform regular work hours, but also work after hours when requested without complaint. Sometimes not paid for by overtime, and a lot of times by their own choice. This has been especially true during these times of the pandemic, again, without complaint. Maybe the only elected positions that shouldn't get raises are the members of this court. I urge you to consider the request for the raise. I fully realize that no new revenue tax option could be difficult to pay for any of these programs, but this county does have what I call rainy day or a contingency fund that by the end of 2021 is worth over $9 million. If there's any contingency that needs help, this is it and this is the time. By definition, isn't this the purpose of setting that money aside? The annual interest alone will probably pay for the needs of the ambulance services, elected and unelected personnel raises, and any other first responder. I'm not suggesting we use all that money, because that would be crazy. But part of it can be used, and there's still plenty of money there in case there's a tornado or there's some other emergency that comes up in the county. The people of Freestone County deserve and expect willing and capable people to conduct the people's business. These people, elected and non-elected alike, deserve pay commensurate with their duties. Singling out personnel or offices that should not get raises, should or should not get raises, is nothing short of practicing favoritism at the very least and political retribution at the very worst. Whatever the reason, I feel it needs to stop. It's bad policy, bad management practices, and just bad form. The people of this county also expect and deserve professional first responders. By that I mean the ambulance service, the sheriff's department, fire department. And they need to be well trained and equipped with modern functioning equipment. To use some of this money for the reasons I give takes commitment, courage, and leadership. The commitment to recognize these issues needs solutions, the courage to act on them, and the leadership to actually get it done. Thank you.
Anyone else? If there are no other comments, it is now 10:22, and we are going into the public hearing on the budget. There are a couple of things that we still have not finished addressing, and so the first thing that or I guess the last thing that we talked about yesterday at the meeting was the increase that the sheriff's department was requesting, and we were going to look over some things.
Don't forget me after the meeting.
And so now, what discussion is there as to the request that the sheriff has made?
I support the increase personally. Again, as I have always stated, that I think it will save us in the long run. I support the increase in Jeremy. I support the increase with the two county judges that came before us to ask for that. And the reason is they're going to have an increase in their office. They went from 5,000 to 10,000. So their caseload is going to increase and workload is going to increase. And so I support both of them because they have asked. Now, if we can figure out a way to give everybody an increase, support that. But most definitely, the sheriff's department and the two county judges, I support them.
As to the sheriff's office, other discussion? Thank you. Yes, I see that. Not here.
see everybody in Freestone County get a raise, I just don't know where the money's gonna come from. I don't know.
I am supportive of the sheriff's request to realign. That's what we talked about at the last time we made some adjustments in your department, was that we would address the deputy issue and get those in line, and then everything will be in order in your department. Is that right, Chairman?
Yes.
As far as salaries?
How much money are we making on the interest this year? Do we know?
Well, there are times that we do have more cash. December and January is when we do receive most of the tax money. And then the rest of the year, so we have that money for the rest of the year, decreasing it by the monthly expenses. Because the rest of the year, we don't get that huge amount. So that's how we're able to earn some interest through the year, especially the first part of the year. That's how we're able to do this. I think we can find another new budget for their expenses.
Where are we gonna find that? You know where it's gonna be found at? Where that money gonna come from?
We can take some out of the capital outlay and just not do some of the projects that we're going to do for this next year. Anyone else?
Things that you changed yesterday, 679, 66, and 375, 760,000, 750,000.
I'll tell you what,
Tell me about that.
yes, I will.
That continues being grant.
Yes, it's those grants. Yesterday, we talked about the juvenile, we decreased that, and then added 600,000 to that grant line item, so that whatever we are able to purchase and get reimbursement through that grant, we already have it budgeted, so we can expend it out of that line item. And if there aren't any expenditures that we find that we can use that will fit within the grant, then none of that money will be spent. Only be on things that can be reimbursed through the grant. That line item. And the increase on the ambulance, that was added.
Judge, in our new budget, on page 34, in our new budget, I see $250,000 on capital outlay for major purchases. What is that for?
Well, I don't know if I have a list in here on capital outlay.
That's 590.
And that's where we can take the sheriff's part out.
Sheriff Park, that's part.
No, we can take some money out of that.
All right, ma'am.
Let me think of what all is there. Some of it is for cameras. Some of it is because we're gonna have to do all the cameras down in the offices. Some of it is the expense of laying that line, the rest of that line down, connecting with us. We're gonna have to get a new phone system for down there. We're gonna have to replace, the roof on the building down at the, and then redo some of that office, however much that is. There are some offices on this floor, the floor we're on right now, that are not used because they need to be redone. Let me think what else is in there. I have to get the list.
Yeah, okay. I was
Do
just,
y'all remember we had talked about what the service is?
Judge, was some of that in case we don't get the, was some of it in case we don't get the sheriff's vehicles in this budget?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So was some of it in case we can't pay for the sheriff's vehicles out of this budget?
No, that's not in place.
Okay.
I have to go get my list.
Okay, no, I was just curious to what that was for, I did not.
We can't take it out of that. Is anyone else?
I'm not too familiar. I've been trying to figure out, the TIG ambulance, the TIG ambulance service. Do they get taxes, don't they get taxes from the hospital district, all the taxes, is that how they pay their money?
They get taxes from, they are part of the hospital district, they do, are a taxing entity. They do have to pay a fee to, through the tax office, to the county, for, the county sending out all of their tax notices. And that fee is pretty close to what we fund them with.
Okay.
I mean, yes, so basically, I mean, they've come before us before and talked about that, the fact that, you know, we charge them to send out their notices, so much per parcel. And we do fund them some money, but it kind of is a wash. So, but they do get their tax money in, I don't know how much that is, but they are providing an ambulance, and I know they have requested the same thing because their expenses are increasing also, just like the Fairfield ambulance service.
And while I was looking at the budget, just I kind of went over it, I noticed that the fire department, $5,000 is not in the commissioner's budget. I didn't see the $5,000 in the budget. And we're not putting that in our budget. I didn't see that.
I don't see it in there either.
I didn't see the 5,000 in our budget.
10, isn't it?
Hmm?
It's 10, isn't it?
10,000, I don't see it in there.
He's talking about in y'all's budgets.
In our
Now, I
budget.
see in precinct 2, it's in there 4,000. And precinct 1, each one of those, 4 has it. We'll look at those, and basically what that does, you know, you have a certain amount of money, and it's allocated over those expenses, that whole line, so we will move $4,000 down to that volunteer fire department line. That will reduce $4,000 in the sand and gravel line. It's just a transfer.
I noticed in my budget, item in the fire departments, I had some money there. Are you basing that on individual fire departments, or is that just one lump sum? Okay. My deal is I have 4 in part of TIG, so I have 5 fire departments. So if I only get $4,000 or whatever, that's $1,000 in fire department.
Well, there again, if you want more money in that line item, you'll tell us how much, well, then we'll make that transfer of money down to that line item.
But that's
How
coming
much
out
do
of
you
my,
want in yours?
that's coming out of my road and bridge. We can't get it somewhere else.
Well, you know, we did set up in Fund 700, line item 700 in the general fund, so that some of the large expenses would be paid out of the general fund and not out of the road and bridge fund. So most of the things that y'all come in and approve, that the commissioners approve for the fire departments, comes out of the general fund. $1,700. Doesn't come out of road and bridge. That's just for minor things that y'all do for.
But I buy all the fuel for all the fire departments. If they need tires, if they need whatever they need, then we have to take that out of road and bridge. And that little bit of money there is not nearly enough.
Well, we can make a transfer down to that.
And I thought what we did last year is the money that we had over there, the 4,000 that we had over there, we moved that 4,000 from the fire department over into road and bridge for the fire department, that 4,000. Am I correct? So we took the 4,000 out of road and bridge?
No, it should have been on that line item, it wasn't on that line item. We'll make that adjustment.
Hold on. So the 4,000 that we had last year, in this budget that we have now, what you're telling me, that 4,000 came out of our budget?
Yes.
So we didn't get that 4,000 that I thought we voted on last year. That 4,000 didn't come from the fire department that, when it was set aside at first, it didn't come from that 4,000 that we were giving them when we had a fire department line item set over there. That each fire department was, each one was, it had like 20-some thousand, whatever was over there. So that money didn't come from there and went to each one of the,
We can move the 16,000 for each fire department out of the general fund
to road and bridge.
to road and bridge.
Yeah, that's what I thought we did last time. but
We
we
can do
didn't.
that. Other discussion is, will anyone else agree on the sheriff's request?
How many people are we talking about? How many positions?
We had that in the packet, if you have that packet with you. Will you just talk about that just a little bit again?
If we have it in the packet, that's fine.
Pardon?
If it's in here, that's fine.
It's in that first package that you got, the whole printout. You may not.
What I've asked for is, basically we'll provide 10 deputies, 10 of our patrol deputies, the raise, and then 2 sergeant positions.
And actually, the purpose of that is to get it all in line again because of the step.
Yes.
What's that line thing again?
The steps that you
The
have.
total altogether,
You got the $608 deal, and then you got the 28,000, and then you got
3,600.
Yeah.
3,600.
Yeah.
Altogether, 33,000, I think $14 or $16, something like that. And that's, you know, we're sitting here listening and we pretty much already approved the auditor to have a full-time position, whether or not she needs a full-time position or not, that's her office, not mine. That's her business. But I find it interesting that we're having this long, lengthy discussion when however much they're saying, I don't know if it's 30,000, but if it's gonna cost an extra 30,000 for her, for one person, I'm looking for at 12. And we don't seem to be getting anywhere.
It's really not 30 because we're paying.
I don't know what it is.
We're paying a part-time person now, right?
That's correct.
You know.
We could do away with that full-time position and get that 30,000 to the sheriff department, do away with that full-time position, and then, that way we don't have to try to find that money and get that money over to the sheriff department, so that way they can, do their job.
Not
Then-
30.
Huh? I mean, whatever it is, we that way we don't have to scuffle and try to find that money. We already can come up with it, so instead of giving a full-time
I'm saying we
position.
have a place we can take it out.
We fixed and I haven't asked for anything else as far as my employees in my office. We're not being selfish, we're asking what we believe we need, what we believe we've earned, what we believe we deserve. I've come back up here since last year because our jailers and our dispatchers, y'all took care of it, and we appreciated it, and I've told you that multiple times. I'm just asking for my deputies this year. It's been a while, and they're behind a pretty good bit. And that's what I'm asking for this year. I want to take care of my guys on the street, just take care of this county. And they're doing a damn good job. That's what I want.
Jimmy, about some time ago, I think maybe first year or second, I can't remember, when you came up here, you came in with a plan to readjust your whole department.
Yes, well, I used the money that was already in my budget in order to provide the deputies a $960 increase because we were so far behind then.
And you readjusted some of your people, and brought some down that was making them too
Yes.
much down, and then brought some up.
I did.
Readjusted it.
I did.
So now with this adjustment now, the thing you're talking about today, do you have anybody that's above that thing that you're going to have to bring them down?
I'm not gonna bring them down this time, because, the reason why, is because two of those people is who I brought down last time. But when y'all gave the percentage raise, instead of putting it on the salary of the position, when you put those percentage raises on the person, it messes up that whole pay scale. But those people, those two specific people, I'm not gonna take the money from them again. But they're not gonna get anything, because all this is going towards is the patrol deputies, the 34,560, some of them make maybe 36. They're not even gonna get the full raise. I just want them bumped to that 31, that 38.1, and once they hit it, whether they got $2 or 200 or 2,000, once they hit the 38.1, I want them right there. They're all doing the same job, they can make the same pay. And then I need that little difference in my sergeant's pay of $608, $609, because they need that little added gap. They got a little more responsibility. You know, they're the ones out there when I can't be, or helping on the scene because they got a little bit better training, more knowledge, and so that gives them that gap, and that helps to when I have a sergeant's opening or I have a lieutenant's opening, and somebody deservingly gets promoted. That gives them that little more cash in their salary because they deserve it. They've worked their way to it. They've been here for this county for years, and that's how. But that's what's happening to our pay scales. That's why that's why I always say let's put it on the beginning salary where the salary should be, because otherwise, in my office, it messes it up with 41 employees, and we have a scale we need to go up on.
Jeremy, you said the last meeting we had, you said 12 people, I wrote it down, 12 people have come to the total of 33, 14, 12 people. One person in the auditor's office, $36,000. I don't even know what the discussion is. I just can't even figure out what the discussion is.
Well, we're wasting time.
The same way there was no discussion for one person, while we're having a long, lengthy discussion about 12 people who keep you safe. I don't understand. I can't even keep that in this.
So the total cost for this, in order to do this is how much money?
How much was it?
The total cost to do what you want to do.
$33,014 and some odd cents. $33,000.
I need to do 36,000. You gave that last guy.
Let's say 36. Add 3 in there. It's not making much difference. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, all right. Thank you. All right. Other discussion on the public hearing?
One last thing, Judge, on page 36. On page 36, on the old budget that we had, I noticed that it was 30 on the capital outlay on 59. It was 30,000. I noticed that we changed it to 60,000.
Right, I don't know if I was mentioning that this morning. I thought I had to put that pickup amount in, and I had, so that's one that's going to take out 30,000 there.
Okay, all right, that's all right.
It was the same thing, it was just already in there, I covered that, it was 30 with that line, that was,
it's gonna be 30.
it's going to be 30.
30,
I didn't see the library. all of them. Were they all those within there? No, you don't, you ain't got to, I just didn't see it. Okay, no problem. That's all.
All right, it is 9:46 and we are out of the public hearing.
We're gonna down the budget before we do the tax rate.
Yes, and I looked at my, I know that seems backwards, but that's the way they require me to do that.
Judge Green, I have one other question. I was asked about the JP, the difference in the JP's offices have their budgets are different. Could you tell me why that would be? Other than, and I'm not asking about longevity and things like that.
Yes, if they're, for example, in JP2, she has to pay a phone bill that is different from what comes out in our phone bill. But there's also, the utilities are separate for her office. There are also some differences in, like the two that are down there, they have a little internet difference. Seems like there's some agreements that they have on some copiers that are different between the JP offices.
So that's what makes the difference. They're not getting like one getting more for part-time as opposed to the other one.
What is their number?
I looked at it earlier, but I'm not sure.
5512.
They're 590.
551, 2, 3, and 4.
552, JP2. 553. No, they're 554. Their part-time is a little bit less.
The part-time gets less.
They do.
And she gets-
Are a little different. I'm not sure exactly why, but they are just the way that's allocated. A little bit of difference in what they ask for a conference.
What page
But
is
it's all
JP?
basically the same, 18.
18.
But by being in different offices, they some of them have a little bit different expenses. All right. We're now on item number 2, which is the vote to set.
Judge, what is the difference between the part-time and full-time pay per year? Get the all.
Well, right now, it's 21,750 to 33.
117 to 33.
With item number 2, to vote to set the salaries, expenses, or allowance for 2021. We can set them at the same salary, subject to this difference, the things that we approved as being different. What we talked about, whether or not we're going to try to bill a raise. We previously had voted on the elected officials' salaries and said the same.
I'm sorry, you need a motion on that.
We'll need a motion. If it's going to be to leave the salaries, expenses, and allowances as they're presented in the budget, which is basically not giving a raise or if we want to do something different. Any discussion from
Other than the ones that we've talked about.
the commission? Yes.
And where would we get the money from if you did a 2% raise? And what would a 2% raise look like? I wish we hadn't discussed that earlier, but what would a 2% raise look like?
I would say it's around figure. You say 100,000?
Usually it's about 100,000, I think before in the past they said about 100,000 per percentage, so, but I think John Darlis reported long ago it was about 100, but I don't have that.
Now, obviously, just to make it, me, myself perfectly clear with my office, that, upon approval of the deputies, won't be including that 2%. I'm saying that.
What about the dispatchers and the?
Right, that, I'm saying as far as my deputies, and that's who I'm looking out for this year. I did jailers and dispatchers last year. I'm just asking for, what I need from my deputies, not including that 2%, that 2% would not be added or included or anything in that. So that's those guys that you can take the 2% away from.
The Susan Joe will be included.
I'm sorry, you.
I said Susan and Joe will be included. That's true. Jailer, dispatcher.
If y'all choose that,
Yes.
that's part of you guys. I'm in here for my deputies this year, and like I said, time and time again, you guys are there for my jailers and dispatchers last year.
We need to vote on the sheriff's department and the auditors.
When we get ready to vote on the budget, it will be to adopt the budget, it will be including those changes.
We don't need to vote on those before we adopt the budget.
We need to vote on the salaries because we can't adopt the budget unless we know what the salaries are going to be in the budget. Once we adopt the budget, we can make those changes.
I'll go for 2%. I just don't want to get in a position to go to where next year we have to have layoffs, or we don't have the money to pay for the increase. I don't ever want to see that. And, I won't care if it's all the way my street either, you know, and nothing, and like he had said a while ago, it ain't looking real good for the home team right now, though. You go out on the interstate, and, coffee board is working in the oil field, and that's not all we got left, all in debt. And, I don't know, I'll go for 2%.
To be taken out of surplus.
And that with 2% would not include Jeremy people. Jeremy, are you talking about not dispatchers as well?
No.
James
Or you including the dispatcher?
Yeah.
Okay, I support the 2% too.
and James.
And I support the 2% too.
Judge, would this, talking about the salaries, do we need
That would
to,
not be elected officials, is that correct?
Not what else?
Not be elected officials, we've already posted that.
would this, something need to be set for the EA salary at this time?
That the EA salary is set by the commission, as I recall.
Okay, thank you.
And, I was thinking too, while I'm talking, we've done this before. before gave 2%, but we have never, since I've been here, we never have looked at part-time employees that have been at the same pay since they've been here.
We can address that,
Oh, no.
after we set the budget, we'll just have to move some money from somewhere else.
Okay.
You know, if we want to increase that,
Okay. Okay.
those
I see.
amounts.
Okay, I support the 2%.
I guess I will, I mean, I'm 2%, that's for,
All right, no, okay.
that's not for the ones in the jail, the
The
deputies.
deputies,
This is just for all county employees,
No,
not elected officials.
except elected
Is
officials.
that a motion?
No, I'm just saying,
This is different from the budget. This is a separate, this is a motion.
I think Andy made a
I'll
motion.
make it motion.
And I second it.
For all county employees except the deputies and elected officials.
And I second it.
All in favor?
I have a question.
Um,
The new position that if we approve this
No.
new position, that should not get that 2%.
No,
Improvement.
that amount is set.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
I'm voting. We voted that.
Okay,
We approve that.
motion carried. Okay,
We need to go back and vote on the sheriff increasing deputies. We haven't voted on that.
no, we haven't, but that was within the budget discussion and everyone, number 3 is the motion to adopt the budget. And it would be adopting the budget with these changes. With the increase of 2% for all employees except deputies. And the position that was returned to full-time. Is that second auditor, is that what that, yeah. And, because we have this form, this budget, but it doesn't have everything in it, so we're saying we're gonna adopt with the increase, with the change in the sheriff's office, as was this, as presented, the sheet that you presented, and with
This is salary.
with the additions that we approved for the ambulance.
And that's what's in this budget.
It's not what's in the ambulance part's in here, but I'm going back from what we had proposed. The changes that we had kind of agreed upon, seemed that everyone kind of agreed upon was the change in the sheriff's office, the increase for the ambulance, and then the 2% raise.
Now, it's both ambulances like it's in this
Is
budget.
what
That's in both ambulances, TIG and Fairfield.
it will be, it's going to be in the one we approved, it's going to be changes. I think it's already in that.
Change in this one.
Yes, but we're going to have to make another change, is what I'm saying, for the things that, but these were the things that were added, the ambulance and
And we did talk about that fire department.
what?
The fire department did too. It wasn't a 4,000, wasn't in mine.
Yes, I have that written down.
Well,
Actually, it's going to be 4,000 transferred to each department. So that'll be-
How much is it for each fire department? 4,000 for each fire
We're
department?
transferring 16,000, 4,000 to each road and bridge. And if it's already showing in your budget, it's having 4,000, it'll go into your sand and gravel. It's going to be 4,000 in each.
My question is, How many,
Make it math, though.
how many fire departments does each other commissioner have?
I have 1.5.
I have two.
1.5 and 2?
Two,
How many is that?
9 in the county.
4? Is that 4?
9 in the county.
I have 4.5 of those ones. So, I mean, my question is, am I gonna get this, I need to get enough for my guy, my departments. I mean, if they just got 1 or 2, I got 4.
I think that's something we really need to take a look at, is how many runs are those fire departments making? If you're only making 2 or 3 runs a year, you don't need that $5,000. Somebody need that $5,000 that's making 200 runs.
Additional information.
Yeah.
And I think the auditor's office might have that
Yeah.
information.
We did get that information. In fact, I've sent the letters out to all the fire departments because we have to have the man hours. And so we will get all that information back.
I like to see that. I like that copy.
I'd like to just have that money put in the budget while we're doing this.
So you're asking basically for 2,000 more, 6,000 for you and 4 for each of them. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking for 4,000 for each one of my fire departments. And I'll just do 4 and I'll help with the.
Well, if they're doing 4 each, that's like 2,000 fire department, because they each have basically 2.
I have a fair feeling you, look,
It took, so you have 4,000 for each property?
Work with Curtis, Street, Southern Oaks, and Portillo.
Just tell me the amounts,
Y'all, what do y'all think?
What did you say you did?
I only got 2,000.
Recent one, how much are you asking for that?
I'm gonna stay with the 4, I recommend 6, but I'll stay with the 4.
I like that in too.
Whatever we all decide, we'll make it. You know, we have to do some in the past years, we'll stand and say, I'm gonna help any fire department in the county. You can stay on 4, whatever, but if they need some help, if I got it, they're gonna get it.
And we have some in the general fund.
That's the way it's gonna be with me.
And
So
I
how
have,
what are you asking for?
12.
12. So is everybody gonna get 12?
I'm on 4. I'll find some, please.
Whatever is good with anybody. I think whatever the fire department needs, we're gonna get whatever the
That's
others.
exactly it.
one way they're gonna get it. Yeah.
Whatever they want, I'll get it for them.
Yeah.
Y'all just tell me.
I'm saying 12. That's 3 for each one of them. That's not nearly enough. I mean, that's not enough to make it to cover everything, but I'll round it. Just like I say, fire department is very important in my precinct.
Is, good to vote on that.
Yep.
I don't know, I can't see people that are sitting down there.
What was the question?
I think they already need somebody who can see. Pump or
Yes, sir. T.
right now, don't they?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have a brush truck. It has cracked bell housing. It's got baby wheels on it, so we're asking for a pump.
Yeah, I've already told you, just order.
Yes, sir. Thank
And
you.
that'll be my whatever it takes, whatever.
Yes, sir.
We're
Appreciate
supposed to,
it.
I talked to free money, but ordering it pump.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And if it is something bigger, we always have to go to the general, not always, but.
But that might come out of my district fund, we get in for, so,
So how much are we gonna transfer, just tell me?
I'm saying it's like 4, or whatever, or,
I'm fine with 4 because, when you need 20 and you came up with that, so I'm fine.
keep it.
4, 4, 12.
We can move out of San Miguel if we need something
Yes,
for
yes,
park.
yes.
Well, it's 4 or 5 here right now. Go on.
You want the 12? All right. There seemed like there were some other small changes that we already talked about that is in this budget, but deleting the juvenile, I think, now increasing the fire departments. There may have been some others. I think that's all. It's in the one that's printed. So just adjustments to those. So do we have a motion to adopt the budget?
Make a motion to adopt
that wording is on the, so whatever day you vote the tax rate to be, that'll be the wording.
Thank you.
397, 35, what is it? 39? Bring it up,
Point 39375. I'll make that motion.
And the motion is to, what we said, adopt the order, approve the order adopting the tax rate and the rest of that is, it's written up here. And authorizing the tax assessor collector to assess and collect taxes in accordance with the rate. We have a motion and a second, all in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 5, approve the minutes. Let's take